Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about Power Rangers Dino Fury Season 2 Episode 14 is a prime example of a problem I'm having with Power Rangers today. Now, I've been a Power Ranger fan ever since it first came out in that very first episode. But then after Disney, I gave it up for 3 seasons in the Nickelodeon era. But then Kendall brought me back and everything. And so I've been a fan all my entire life. And then those 3 seasons I missed, I rewatched. And so, like, even with the ups and the downs, you know what I'm saying? Like, I still love this series. And, but there is a problem I'm having with today's interpretation of Power Rangers. One of that is just Dino Fury in general. If you ever heard me talk before, you know I'm not the biggest fan of Dino Fury. I know the fandom likes it, but hey, I'm a fan, but I don't do what everybody else says. I like my own stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'm my own person. And I just can't get into this season to save, like, I just can't get into it, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it feels like a teen drama with Power Rangers in it. Reminds me of Turbo, which felt like a sitcom with Power Rangers in them. And I normally don't like that. If I want to watch a sitcom, I'll go watch a sitcom. If I want to watch a teen drama, I'll go watch a teen drama. But when I'm coming here to watch Power Rangers, plain and simple, I'm here to watch Power Rangers and stuff. I want my little bit of everything. I want my drama. I want my action. I want my a bit of edginess and maybe even a slight bit of humor. Maybe that last one, and of course that moral lesson. And I want it to be mature. I've already talked about this in my other videos. I respect Power Rangers. I like it. I hate when people disrespect it. That goes for people who don't watch it and hate it. That goes for fans, and that goes for the people who create it. I don't like when it is disrespected. I look at Power Rangers for what it is, a superhero show. I don't look at it as a kid show like many others. But now, when it comes to that, the Nickelodeon and the Hasbro and the Netflix, I'm starting to look at it as a kid show, and I hate that and everything. And so, I decided I'm gonna finish out season 2 of Dino Fury because Cosmic Fury is coming up, and I'm like, all right, I gotta finish it, And I was able to find it on YouTube because I still don't have Netflix yet. So I'm like, okay, cool, I can rock and roll and everything. And so as I picked up where I left off at, because I have not liked the second season at all, I like some things in the first season. Now don't get me wrong, there are some things in Dino Fury I do like and everything. Izzy is my favorite and everything. But I've noticed something this season. Every time the Rangers talk and everything, they sound like they're bored or dull in it. They have like these dull expressions, these dull dialogue, and it's just kind of like they just seem like they're tired, which they probably are, because they have to film I think, what is it, like 3 episodes on one day? That's how the old formula was. I don't know what it is now, but I think it's very similar. And so I can understand they're tired, but when they do that, it just sounds like that, you know what I'm saying? And it takes me out. But there's something that took me completely out this episode. And the thing that took me out this episode flabbergasted me to a degree and pissed me off to another degree. And it's something Simon Bennett once said is why he doesn't have civilian fights. And he said it's because they're unnecessary. Unless it's necessary, he'll do it. I disagree with him totally on that because I feel like they are necessary. It's the bread and butter of Power Rangers. But that's not what got me pissed off when I watched this episode. Because one, there is no civilian fight. Something else pissed me off. It's something that's been pissing me off for the last couple of years, and it's not even so much Power Rangers' fault, it's Marvel Disney's fault. I will get into that a bit later, because I found this so unnecessary that it irritated me. So what exactly is this episode about? Well, let me get into the actual Ranger part first. So the Rangers have finally found Ravcon, Lord Zed is there because he's a new like antagonist and everything. And so they go to the planet. So that little, what is it, Sauron, the little lizard lady, robot looking lady, she sends them there. Ion is being Ion's all like, oh, the Green Morphin Master told me that, gave me a prophecy that without me, Lord Zed can't be defeated. So he thinks it's all up to him. So he's being his typical dumb, idiotic self who thinks he can do it all by himself. And I don't understand what makes him think that. Yeah, we all heard the prophecy, but I get why he thinks that. But it doesn't really sound that way, you know what I'm saying? It more sounds like, hey, you can help, you know what I'm saying? And so not that you're the only person that can take it on. Especially how you're not even the freaking leader, and most of the times the Power Ranger is the leader who defeats the bad guys and stuff, for the most part. And so, like, they transport the Refcon, and some of the scenery is very, very gorgeous. That's why New Zealand has some of the best foliage ever. And so Zato's reminiscing about like this used to be here and that used to be there and blah 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 blah. And Ion's just being his butthead itself. Yo man, reminisce later and everything. So anyway, they finally find Lord Zed. And so they're spying on him and this and that. But Ion's being an idiot and so like, all right, time for me to be the hero and everything. So he goes down there and faces Lord Zed by himself, not even morphed and everything. So the other Rangers are like, oh, I guess we're doing this then, without a plan and everything. So they go down there, they morph and everything. Ion tries to fight him, but get his butt whooped, handed to him. The other Rangers try to fight, they're getting their butts handed to them. And at some point in time, they all teleport back to their command center type place. They think the lizard lady did it. Turns out it's not even her. It was the Green Morphin Master because she wants to have a word with them because she saw they're about to get their butts whooped. And so she put them back to safety and everything. And so that's pretty much, I think that's pretty much that with them. I think there's some other stuff in the next episode with the Blue Morphin Master and how all this came to be and stuff like that. One day I will talk about that because the whole I can't talk. Morphine Masters is a pretty interesting entities and stuff like that. And I have some thoughts on that, but I'll get into that much later. So, what exactly pissed me off? Was it the fact that the Rangers had their butt handed to them? No, not really, because that's just part of the story. Was it Ion being an idiot? A little bit, yeah, but that's just who he is and everything. And it's part of the story just to put him on his butt and let him know, hey, that prophecy ain't for you and everything. You're here to help, but you ain't the man and everything, So what exactly pissed me off? Well, it's the events that actually started the episode. J-Bug and that news reporter lady started off the show. So I'm like, okay, they're just doing their normal thing. So they're having some type of like competition with some people, some friends. They're having a good time and everything. They're having these dart guns and they're shooting each other with it. And so it starts the episode off. I'm like, okay, whatever. Unnecessary humor, but hey, whatever. So then it gets to the Power Ranger stuff, right? Once they get on Rafcon and once they start fighting Lord Zed, they cut away from the action battle and they go back to Earth with J-Bug and the news reporter lady, and they start playing with darts and they're having a good time. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see they're having a good time. I'm like, whatever, I can feel it. But then it cuts from that and they're having like woohoo time, and then they go back to the Power Rangers stuff, and then the Power Rangers stuff goes from like the middle towards the end of the episode and it ends. And so then I stopped and I thought to myself, what was the literal point of the whole dart competition thing with the J-Bug and the news reporter lady? That didn't add absolutely nothing to the story. Not even in the slightest way. I thought it was going to connect somehow. But no, it was just unnecessary filler. And not only was it unnecessary filler, it was awkward at the same time. It reminds me of Disney Marvel baby humor in the MCU. See, it's always been humorous in the MCU, but when Josh Whedon came in, he brought in his Buffy humor. Well, actually, he brought in his humor. What is his humor? In every project he's in, something gets really, really serious. It puts you in the mood. You're getting hyped for it. And then all of a sudden, something weird happens and something humorous happens and it takes you out. And that's exactly what happened in this episode. And I could not believe they did that crap. And not only did they do it with that, so I'm just kind of like, okay, so that happened in the beginning. Maybe it won't happen again. And then it happened again when they, like I said before, in the middle, when they went to Rafcon and was fighting. And then it cut from that to more of the dark stuff. Then it cut back to like the fight. And when it cut back to the fight, I could not believe what I was hearing. One of the aliens told Lord Zed, hey, can I use the restroom? I haven't used the restroom since we left Earth. And Lord Zed got mad at him and said, you're a robot. You don't even use the restroom. I'm just kind of like, what was the point in that? What was the point of that dialogue? Then Ion said something really, really stupid because, he's not from Earth and he doesn't understand the Saints. I can give that a pass. But then Ollie said something stupid, and Ollie always says something stupid. And then as they're fighting the monsters, I realized something. The monsters are talking during the fight, and they're saying something stupid and silly. Then Ollie and Ion are saying something silly and stupid as they're fighting. And all I could think is, why are they talking so much during this fight? And why are they making jokes and saying, they're not even saying funny stuff, they're saying stupid stuff. And the stuff that they've been saying is very reminiscent to Disney and Nickelodeon Junior baby humor and everything. Little kid humor. Not like almost preteen humor, but like little teeny tiny kid humor that you will watch early in the morning just to put the kids kind of like, to have them like watch that so they'll shut up and everything. And I stopped and I thought to myself, this is, for me at least, is what ruining Power Rangers. This is why people are calling this a kid's show and everything. There's unnecessary humor. With that unnecessary humor and unnecessary filler, Simon Bennett could have had more action. He could have driven the story further and everything. But he didn't. He decided to he ha 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 and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like, dude, you don't want to talk about you can't have civilian fights because it's unnecessary. But yet you can throw in stupid humor and stupid filler. Now, to be fair, one main reason for this is the Power Ranger Bible that was created by this one woman who has never watched Power Rangers in the past. But she was given the job of writing the Power Ranger Bible back when Saban had it in the Nickelodeon time. Why he picked an outsider, hey, I don't know. But, Saban's a pretty weird kind of man. And so Saban's huge thing, even since the beginning of Mighty Morphin, is that entertain the kids, and so he always had humor, slapstick, and Power Rangers, right? But when he took it back over in Nickelodeon days, he went overboard with it, especially in Ninja Steel. In Ninja Steel, it was abysmal. The whole Monty and Victor thing made me want to throw up because I got tired of all the humor. I do not have a problem whatsoever with Monty or Victor, the actors. Same way I do not have a problem with the actress who plays J-Bug or the news reporter lady. I don't have a problem with them. I have a problem with their characters and what their characters have to say and do. It's very similar to the whole Betty and Ben thing, or whatever that dude's name is. Is it Benny and Betty? Oh, whatever that dude's name is. I had a problem with them. It's unnecessary, and they're trying to entertain little kids. I get that, because kids watch Power Rangers, but guess what? There are more grown adults who watch Power Rangers than little kids and everything. And it's the grown adults who are sticking with the franchise for the most part, buying the merchandise for the most part, and keeping it alive for the most part. But even the hardcore fans are starting to dip out and tag out and everything. And, that's kind of bad. And because now a lot of the hardcore fans are casual fans or casual merch buyer and everything. And some people have just completely tagged completely out. And it's one of those things where it's kind of like, yo, man, we're grown. We don't need this baby humor. And because, like I said before, Power Rangers is a superhero show, and everybody likes to watch superhero stuff. And kids are not that stupid. They don't need to be dumbed down by stupid humor and everything. Now, like I said before, to be fair, this has been going on since Mighty Morphin. But that was a completely different playing ball field back then. See, Mighty Morphin came back out in the 90s. The 90s is very cheesy. This was the first show. It was directed to kids and kids only. So they put them in a high school setting. The Power Rangers were 5 kids with attitude, well, technically 6 because of Tommy, but they never had attitude. They was goody goody two shoes and everything. And Bulk and Skull were the ones with attitude. And Bulk and Skull were the bullies in that of high school. So it made sense for them to be the way they were, especially in season 1 and a little bit in season 2. By season 3, it started to get a little ridiculous because Bulk and Skull had matured at that time and they were junior cops, but they were still acting dumb. And back then, anything Bulk and Skull would do would be completely different from what's going on with the Ranger story. And that started to bug me back then. Then it kept going on with Alien Rangers. That was fine because they got reverted back to kids. But then it happened in Zeo. And then I was just kind of like, this is starting to get redundant and everything. It's starting to get to the point where it's unnecessary for this type of humor. But that was the norm back then. And then so in Turbo, this is when things got super silly. Bulk and Skull got turned into chimpanzees. Then they went invisible. Then after that, they started doing odd jobs. And it was at the point where I'm like, okay, look, I'm done with Bulk and Skull. They have graduated high school. It is time for them to move on. But they kept them on the show. Then in space, they still had them on the show. And then they would with the professor dude, but at least they were still humorous. And there's whatever happened, see, whatever they was doing tied into the show. See, for the most part, whatever Bulk and Skull are doing, it ties into whatever the Rangers are doing for the most part. So at least that makes sense. But then they made the smart decision to get rid of Bulk and Skull somewhat by Lost Galaxy. Somewhere in space, the show itself started to get more mature. It started to get even more mature when we got to Lost Galaxy. And from Lost Galaxy on up to Time Force, it was very mature, very edgy, and dark for kids programming. By the time you got to Wild Force, it was still mature, but it had a little silliness in like the villains and stuff. But then it was Disney that brought back that crazy humor again. And they brought it back with the villains. And that's one reason why some people don't particularly like Ninja Steel 100%. I like it. I just don't like the villains because of the humor. And then next thing you know, in the next season, the humor came with that Cassidy and whatever that dude's name is. They was kind of like the new Bulk and Skull, but slightly different, but not that like zany to where it got on your nerves. And the thing is, after that, they got rid of characters like that, and then they started bringing in one Ranger that was comedic. I've never liked that at all. Starting with SPD, I've always hated the comedic Ranger. Bridge, hate him. Ziggy from RPM, hate him to death and everything. I cannot stand it. Now, the only comedic Ranger I've ever liked is Dustin, because he was more like an idiot, and he was like a dude and everything, and his dudeness like made him cool, but he was just like the idiot dumb person. So that was like, okay, whatever, but he wasn't doing anything outrageous and everything. And so this formula kept because of Disney, and so they kept only doing it with that of just one particular Ranger. Chip was like that in Mystic Force, but not that bad. But whatever the Blue Ranger was in Operation Overdrive, he overdid it. And then of course we got into the Neo Saban era with Nickelodeon, and then things went cuckoo crazy again. They had a new Bulk and Skull duel in the form of Bulk and Skull's like son, and it hasn't been the same since. They keep trying to give out that wacky, zany humor, but a lot of people don't want it. And it went too far in Ninja Steel, and it's been persistent. Some people enjoy it. I don't in everything. Because this is why people are calling this show a kid show. Have you ever noticed that a lot of the stars that lead Power Rangers, a lot of them can't get work after that? Now, Power Ranger acting isn't Oscar worthy or Emmy worthy, but some of them can cut the mustard pretty good. But when a casting director see, oh, you did Power Rangers, bye. Because they don't want to hear from them because they know it's considered a kid show. So this episode was a prime example of what I've been talking about for the longest time when it comes to Power Rangers and stuff. They really need to cut that humor out or at least dial it down to like a 1, but they don't want to do that. So it makes me wonder what's gonna happen when we get to like the Netflix Power Ranger. They make their own stuff, because the 2017 movie tried to get away from the humor, but they went too dark and too gritty and everything. See, they got spoiled rotten with all that humor, so then they're like we gotta like completely flip it on his head. But they flipped it on his head, broke his neck, and, and went to the hospital and everything. Because that movie flopped. You know? And so, like, this is just a rant I had to get out because I'm so sick and tired of the humor. And you know what's going to happen. At some point in time, Hasbro's going to be all like, okay, look, man, people ain't tuning in to the show. People aren't buying the DVDs. People aren't buying the merch no more. We're not getting the money we put into our investment. Because in case you haven't noticed, a lot of stuff has changed since Beast Morphers. Beast Morphers, when they put a lot of money into it, and they actually spent about 6 months training how to fight before they had to start filming. Why? Because they had civilian fights and everything, and it was the actual actors doing it for the most part and less of the stunt people. Now they're doing less of that. Now we're back to that cockpit where everybody stands in and do the same moves. It's because, you know, they went back to that cheap formula again, and now they're going less and less with, like, you know, civilian fights. I still hate those new suits for Cosmic Fury. I just had to bring that out. All right, I'm out. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.